Gave up a TV job to start a podcast in your basement. If that doesn't scream midlife crisis, I don't know what does.
It was Championship Sunday here in Indianapolis. What's the mindset then coming in as a defending champion?
I want to win. No, I want to win.
The young lady over my shoulder, Caitlin Clark.
Not the best looking guy. And I don't think anyone's going to sit here and say, Matt Randazzo was really good looking.
What has this last month, 2 months, 3 months been like for you? It's an important fan base for the Fighting Illini, is it not?
It is.
He turned 69 years young last week. He looked good, Coach.
Oh, try it. Thank you.
Welcome to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. We've officially made it. We survived our debut episode. Thank you, everybody who tuned in, who viewed. We do appreciate it. Thank you for the new subscribers. If you have not yet subscribed, please do so. Also, all that fun stuff you need to do on YouTube as well. So subscribe, like, rate us. All of that stuff helps immensely. We're just getting rolling. We survived day one, back for day two, and a great, great lineup for today's show. Coming up in just a little bit, we'll be joined by the one and only Chasson Randle. I've gotten to do this for 25 almost years now. Between WQAD and now this new venture, and there's not too many people I like more than Chasson Randle. Fantastic basketball player, obviously. Fantastic young man. We'll get caught up in his life, where he's at right now. We'll look back at some great memories here in the Quad Cities. A lot to get to with Chasson Randle coming up in just a little bit. Also on today's show, my good friend Tom Kakert joins us to talk about Iowa athletics. A lot to get to basketball-wise, women's basketball-wise, football-wise. So we'll have Tom Kakert as well. Also, he's a dumb Bears fan, and I'm a Lions fan, so we'll talk a little NFL as well. I like to talk the NFL these days. And also, really excited about my last guest in the second hour, my really good friend, Jay Kidwell. I've never done any type of media with Jay Kidwell. I've known him forever, never done any TV with him or anything like that, obviously being on competing stations. So super excited to welcome in Jay Kidwell into my house, and we'll talk about local coverage of sports here in the Quad Cities and a bunch of other fun topics as well. A great man. Jay Kidwell will be along in the second hour as well. So a lot to get to, but before we get started, I want to touch on some Quad City sports headlines for January 7th, Tuesday, January 7th, and we want to start with some football news via the transfer portal. Sterling standout Lucas Austin has made his way to the transfer portal, and he's making his way to Virginia Tech. Austin started his career at West Virginia this past season. He will now head to Virginia Tech, and a local tie there as well. The voice of the Hokies out of Virginia Tech is Zach Mackey, a Geneseo grad, an Iowa grad, a really good guy. So the Geneseo and Sterling combining when it comes to Virginia Tech and some football. We wish Lucas Austin the best of luck. Really good football player, an offensive lineman, heck of a basketball player as well. A lot of people forget about that. So we wish Lucas Austin the best of luck. Also, yesterday was Black Friday in the NFL, and it was kind of a quiet day. Some firings during the season. Only one firing yesterday. Doug Peterson gone in Jacksonville. So now the openings in the NFL are the Jags, the Saints, the Jets, the Patriots, and of course your beloved Chicago Bears. The Bears busy. They're basically inviting everyone to Chicago for an interview. I have not gotten the call yet. Maybe I will. The big names, obviously. Ben Johnson will talk with the Bears. Of course, it's a bye week for the mighty Detroit Lions, so their offensive coordinator will chat with the Bears. Also, Mike Vrabel will be in on Wednesday, reportedly, and they also asked permission to talk to Mike McCarthy, former Green Bay head coach, Dallas head coach. Boy, I would love Mike McCarthy to end up in Chicago. So we'll talk a little bit about the NFL coming up later in the show. And also, Iowa fans everywhere waiting for quarterback news. That's right. Mark Gronowski from South Dakota State is in the portal. He could go to the NFL. He could go to the University of Iowa. We are waiting to see. He should decide anytime. So we will see if he becomes a new member of the Iowa football program. And that's a great place to start, as we are joined now by not that camera, but that camera. It's going to happen. It's going to happen, Tommy.
I'm not Chasson Randle.
No, you're not.
He's way better looking than me.
He is. The one and only Tom Kakert joins me now. And first and foremost, thanks for coming up to the house.
Yeah. I usually come here for wrestling. That's it.
It's true.
That's
so
it.
no downstairs basement watching wrestling. It's a podcast in my
I
upstairs.
usually have your boys yelling at me.
Yeah. It's always good when they're yelling at you. I do appreciate. I mentioned it to Anger yesterday and to John Marks. Tom Kakert, another good friend of mine that put up with a lot of phone calls from me trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And here we are. I would have never thought we'd be sitting in my upstairs loft doing a podcast with probably a dozen people listening.
Last time I was up here, the boys still had their room.
Yeah, I kicked them out. They're out in the shed. No, they're downstairs now. So thank you for coming in. We're going to talk a lot of Hawks. Of course, Tom Kakert with the Hawkeye Report does a fantastic job when it comes to covering the Iowa Hawkeyes. And we mentioned this quarterback situation, and I think that's where we have to start. Iowa fans want that guy at quarterback. They did get a transfer portal quarterback in Hank Brown earlier before the holidays. Yep. Tell us about Mark Gronowski, and this is something that should some news should come soon on this.
Yeah. So Mark Gronowski has been the quarterback at South Dakota State for the last, I think, 3 years, and actually played against Iowa in 2022 when Iowa won that game 7-3, and they got the 7 with a field goal and a safety by Joe Evans and a safety by Jack Campbell.
I remember that, yeah.
So, so I think that might have been his first start, and he threw for like 87 yards. But this past year, if you're looking at like stats going up in class, he played against Oklahoma State and threw for like 264 yards, 20 of 36, a couple touchdowns. So pretty good day for him, even though the Pokes are not very good this year. But coming into the year, I think there were some high expectations for Okie State. He's thrown for over 10,000 yards in his college career.
That's like a decade at Iowa.
He's rushed for I think almost 1,800 yards. So he's a dual threat, at least at that level.
And Tim Lester likes that.
Yeah, he's about 6'3". He led them to 2 national titles. So been very successful.
Yeah.
49 career victories. So he's a winner. Kid's a winner. And he has the option to come back for another year and play college football, or he could go to the NFL.
Is this option because of the COVID?
Yeah,
still?
the COVID.
Is this almost done? Like this is the last go round?
This is it.
Okay.
So, he had the opportunity to come back if he would so choose, and he entered the portal. The NFL's a big thing for him, and he is. No, I'm not going to go out there and say he's going to be a first day or a second day pick, but that third day, he's definitely on the radar to get picked. He'd be a guy that would be going to the combine, et cetera, just on his, on his resume, arm strength, everything. So he has that. Some guys are just kind of done. They're just like, I'm done with college. I just want to move on with my life, want to focus on professional football, whatever your career is, just you want to chase that. Or he could come back and make some decent money in NIL and play college football for another year. So that, and play it at a level that's higher than the FCS. I should mention also, last year he was the Walter Payton Award winner for the
which
FCS
is like
level,
the Heisman,
which is basically the Heisman Trophy. Yeah.
So if he's not coming to Iowa to compete, right?
Well, he would still have to earn the job.
I get that, Kirk, but that's not Coach. He's not coming to Iowa to compete.
Should I snort like Kirk?
Yeah, you should. I know that's what Kirk will say. That's what Tim Lester will say, and I get all that. But and my shoes are on in the house. My wife's gonna get mad at me. But you're fine. She likes you.
Yeah.
You know that. She doesn't like me. No.
Yeah.
But he's got to come he's not going to come to Iowa to compete. Most likely he's Iowa's starting quarterback if he commits.
Yeah. Does that mean he's going to be at the top of the depth chart in the spring? Probably not.
Yeah.
I would say Brendan Sullivan would probably be at the top of the depth chart. But he's going to be right there. I mean,
okay, so a lot of people have asked me, how good is this young man? And I know you've given the stats and all that kind of stuff. Is he better than Cade when he came in?
yes.
Is he better than Nate Stanley?
That's probably good. End of career. Stanley might be a good comp. I don't know.
I think Nate Stanley was really good.
He's just he's more mobile. I wouldn't compare him to Stanley in terms of playing quarterback. I should mention Pete Nakos from On3 put in a prediction for him, kind of a soft prediction, low confidence that he's going to go to Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
I'm probably a little more confident that he's going to Iowa.
Ooh.
Just
Can I ask you a percentage? No, I won't do that.
No.
A long running joke with Tom and I. We've done media nonsense forever. We do a podcast.
I hate it when he does percentage.
Tom has allowed me to be part of his Hawkeye Report podcast, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And I used to say, give me a percentage. So I won't make you do that. But with that being said,
now we're just waiting for the news to pop. And, we thought maybe it was going to come Sunday night. Didn't happen. Thought that it was going to come last night or sometime during the day yesterday. Did not happen.
10 to noon would be nice.
So
10 to noon.
Yeah, we're just
if your phone buzzes, let me know.
Sort of waiting for this thing to officially happen. But I'm optimistic about Iowa's chances to land him.
You were down at the bowl game.
Yep.
What did you see from Brendan Sullivan, good and bad? Obviously, great first drive and things started well. It was uneven in the second half.
Mm-hmm.
Where are you at with Brendan Sullivan, just in case
this
doesn't happen?
Here's my thought on Sully. Sully is really good in the script, and we saw that where that first half when Tim Lester has 5 running plays, 5 RPOs, 5 pass plays, and he's working off that script. And then on third down, you tend to go to some different things. He did really well, I thought. But then when you go off script or kind of they make adjustments and things start going a little haywire, that's when Sully starts to have trouble, throws an interception, makes some bad decisions, doesn't get to his second reads very well, on and on and on. He just sort of gets inside his own head, is how I would describe it, and just kind of overthinks things or trying to do too much, whatever it is. He just doesn't process at the level that he does early in the game. So that's the concern. We got to see Hank Brown and Jimmy Sullivan, no relation, the true freshman quarterback, and Hank, the transfer from Auburn. They're able to practice. They couldn't play in the game, but they were able to practice. And they look solid. I know they're very, very high on Jimmy Sullivan.
Yeah.
Just think that he's going to be pretty good.
A lot of people will say to me, if Iowa can just figure out that quarterback position, wow. And I think to their credit, they've tried. When this whole transfer portal thing started happening.
Well, remember 2 years ago when Cade McNamara commits, everybody's on cloud 9, and that's when we saw and I think this would be the curious thing about if Gronowski commits, is there a chain reaction?
Mm-hmm.
Because there was the last time when Cade McNamara committed, you saw Padilla hit the portal.
But who's left to chain react? Would Hank Brown go back in the portal?
Probably not. But I wonder how Brendan Sullivan views it. Because last year in the spring, when it was apparent to him that he was not going to be the starting quarterback for the Northwestern Wildcats, he went in the portal.
Yes, but that being said, don't you think Sully's had a pretty good opportunity to show what he can do? Obviously, he got hurt, but he had several starts, and he has this bowl game to go win a bowl game. Mm-hmm. And I know things started off well that first drive, but Iowa gets the the kickoff return for a touchdown when he scored 24 points. Mm-hmm. So offensively, things slowed down big time in the second half. Mm-hmm. Iowa has to get to the point where they don't. Their over-under in passing yards shouldn't be 130 every game.
They're up 24-14 with 5 minutes left in the third quarter and couldn't close the deal.
And just score some. I mean, get another.
And that's part of its defense too.
Yeah, I get that, but I think they kind of put the brakes on in the second half, and that's a struggle. Any more news when it comes to this transfer portal? Because Tommy's big thing is obviously, I mean, not big thing, but you've done great with recruiting throughout the years, and it's changed so much because usually it's a high school thing, and now this transfer portal has everybody kind of looking. Yep. Iowa needs a wide receiver. They're going to try to upgrade in different areas. What's left?
Keep an eye on Sam Phillips, the kid from Chattanooga who visited recently.
Wide receiver.
Yeah, I keep an eye on him. I think Iowa's got a good shot with him. So that would probably conclude things on the offensive side. I think if they were able to get the quarterback and the wide receiver, unless something just kind of too good to be true sort of pops up on the radar. They've added the Hawthorne kid from South Dakota State, defensive lineman, defensive tackle, who I think can help them as a depth piece early on. But I don't get a sense that they're like hunting for a whole lot right now. But you always keep your options open when you're looking at portal, because you never know who's going to show up in there, or some guy that just catches your eye and you're like, wow, how come this guy's in the portal?
Yeah.
Can't believe it.
No.
Let's look at him.
Yeah. He is Tom Kakert joining us on Off the Air. I'm Matt Randazzo. Thanks so much for tuning in if you are doing so on the YouTube channel. A lot to get to in today's show. Coming up later on, Chasson Randle will be with us. And then in the second hour, we have Jay Kidwell, longtime sports director over at Channel 4, coming out to the house and joining us as well. We talked some football, basketball-wise, Tom. Game in Iowa City tonight, Iowa versus Nebraska. Nebraska 2-1 on the season. They just blew out or beat UCLA. We'll talk about that game in a second, but you were up on Friday night in Madison. Ooh. So Tommy's week last week was Nashville through Tuesday, and then home for a day or two.
Monday, and then drove home, and then drove to Madison on Friday afternoon,
and then came back that night after. If you're a basketball team that scores 85 points, you should not lose by 31.
Yeah,
that's what happened to Iowa. They gave up 116
I've
points.
seen some weird games up in Madison.
Yeah.
I have seen some
and it's never easy to win up there.
No, but I've just seen some weird games over the years up there. I was telling one of the only other Iowa reporter that was up there, Tyler Tashman from the Register, works with our good friend Chad.
Yeah.
Great young reporter. And I was telling him about when I was up there covering the game and when Fran bumped the ref.
Yes.
And got tossed.
Yes.
And then Frank got mad at me after the game because I asked him if if he thought he was going to get suspended. And he said, "No, why would I?"
Well, you bumped a ref, Fran.
Yeah, Fran.
And we both like Fran, but
do.
we've both been scolded by Fran.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of the dynamics of Fran sometimes.
That's Fran.
You don't take it personally.
Fran's very Philly.
Fran's Philly, Fran's fiery, Fran, it's what you see is what you get. But the game on Friday brings back up that long
I'll tell you
debate
I'll
about
tell you,
Iowa defense.
Just for our friend Weezy, who hopefully is watching this.
I hope so.
On Ken Palm,
Drink.
Yes.
Yeah.
They went in adjusted defensive efficiency going into that game on Friday. They were 97th in the country.
Out of how many, just to give people
360 some.
So, I mean, you're looking at top 25%, top 30%.
Yeah, top 30%. They dropped to 128, which is hard to do. I'm just telling you, as somebody who looks at Ken Palm and looks at those things.
He's a dork. He does all that dorky stuff.
Seeing a drop like that is, to borrow a Franism, phenomenal.
Yeah. Well, so it brings up that long debate about Iowa defense, and I get it. And it's a knee-jerk reaction of like, Fran teams can't play defense. And I get Fran's always been about outscoring
what did
people.
the Wisconsin player say?
Yeah, that's what they knew. They didn't want to play defense.
Yes.
And that's a pretty bad indictment. But with that being said, wouldn't you throw Wisconsin out the window? Hasn't the defense been a little bit better this year?
I think with Thelwell in that starting unit, I think they've opened the games better. And you saw that. Yeah. I mean, that game was that was a fun basketball game going on. The two teams just kind of going at it. And then it was 30-27 Iowa. And then Iowa didn't score for a while, and Wisconsin scored 14 straight. Yeah. And Fran called a timeout after 11 of those, and it just kept going. And Blackwell went crazy. They just and Wisconsin came into that game not shooting the ball really well from the outside. That I thought that was an advantage for Iowa coming into the game. Iowa shoots it pretty well from the outside, and Wisconsin just doesn't.
Everybody shoots the ball well from the outside against Iowa.
I was really worried that they would be taking a lot of shots, and like Nolan Winter and Stephen Kroll would just play volleyball on the backboard because they're a pair of 7-footers, and Iowa just doesn't have that size. Yeah. And they just didn't miss.
So on your on the HawkeyeReport.com and then just Iowa fans in general,
fire Fran.
Well, I get
that's what it was. Fire Fran.
But the defense, it's a bad indictment of it, but it had been better. Mm-hmm. I don't put defense on this basketball team as like my top concern. Maybe I do now.
Really,
but going into that, it's been rebounding in size. That's been the biggest.
Rebounding has been really poor this year,
which kind of translates.
And that was my concern coming into the year was rebounding because they didn't rebound it well last year. Yeah, and they just struggled. They were upside down in rebounds. They were negative. So when you're negative in that, it's a real problem. But as Fran said after the game, because they got beat by like 16 or something on the glass, and he goes, "Well, it's hard to get rebounds when they don't miss."
Yeah, no, it's as somebody who had the Owen Freeman over in rebounds, that was usually you get those defensive boards, but they weren't missing shots. They
shot 67%. So they were 21 of 31 from three, and at the end, Kamari, one of their guards, he was just, I mean, not all of them were bad defense. It was just like they were just unconscious. Yeah. I mean, you could have went in there in an empty gym and they probably don't hit 21 of 31. Yeah. It's just they were just cooking, and Fran would say.
I don't want to get into the Fran future. We will maybe in a second, but I want to stay on task with the game tonight, and then maybe we'll look big picture.
Big game tonight.
Big game tonight. I mean, you can't, and I think last year would they start in Big Ten play?
They were 0-3.
I was going to say, so I don't want to get too the sky is falling type of stuff when it comes to like they can't lose this game and go to 1-3 in conference play. And
the more interesting thing this year though with the Big Ten is that if you're at the bottom of that barrel,
you don't go to the tournament.
You don't go to the bottom three. I think you don't go to the tournament.
Well, let's not put them there yet. But with that being said, and also we've talked several times on the Hawkeye Report podcast, it's an easier schedule early, and it gets to become
it gets tough
a gauntlet late.
Where you got to go to Maryland and Rutgers and Illinois and Northwestern, and you got Michigan State coming in. I think they've got Oregon and Washington. Anyway, like 5 of the last 8 are on the road.
Yeah.
And they're not like cupcakes on the road, and the home games aren't walkovers either.
So if you look at the schedule, these games are even more important.
Yeah.
Tonight against Nebraska.
Saturday again, they host Indiana.
And I haven't figured out Nebraska because you look at 2-1 in conference play.
Nebraska is really good at home, and you don't know what you're going to get on the road.
Because they lost by 30, didn't they?
Yeah, they lost bad to Michigan State.
So they go in tonight, and it's a bounce-back game for Iowa. Obviously, you'd think defense has been a focal point on practice this past week, but take me to Carver tonight. You'll be at Carver tonight.
Yep.
Your thoughts going into this game against a Nebraska team that is vulnerable on the road?
Yeah, they are. Bryce Williams playing really well for Nebraska. The Gary kid's playing really well for them too. It's funny. Aaron Eulis is on that team. I don't think he's really even playing.
Really?
Yeah.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, because he got
He in trouble?
he had to sit last year for the gambling stuff.
Oh, don't punish kids for. They should have gambling classes in college. It teaches
How
math.
to
It
gamble?
teaches math.
Okay.
My math skills are fit. No, I shouldn't say that. I'm going to get in trouble. But so you'll be there. Speaking of gambling, not to segue into something bad,
4.5.
For Iowa's a 4.5 favorite.
4.5. The thing.
What's the over under?
150. It opened 158. It's at 159.
That's too low, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I keep saying. I'm like, it's just take Iowa overs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Take Iowa overs. I mean, Wisconsin almost got there on their own the other day.
You look at, and we'll talk about our local guys, and we'll start with
Yes.
Owen Freeman first because missed the New Orleans game, and I don't think that was a big deal.
No.
How healthy is he? Healthy? You talked to him after the game. You raised the fingers. He's our tribal chief.
Yeah, he's our tribal chief.
What's his health like? And just a tougher game for him in
He
Madison.
said he tweaked his ankle, but he's okay.
Okay.
He's okay. He's got a little brace on his ankle, but I think he's fine.
Yeah. And a guy who's been playing at a high level, and
Brock's been playing great.
they need Owen to play well tonight, but Brock is, and it's a joke on our Hawkeye Report podcast. He's our guy, and I take Quad City kids I own them. They are mine. I will take the good with the bad till death do us part. But I think we both, we watch
Whenever anything goes wrong for him, your social media
might blows up. But it gets quiet when he does well, and he's been doing well. We watched. I covered him at Moline. I've known him since he was small. I love the family, great people. But
Brock's not the problem with Iowa basketball.
No, I think you watched him, especially in the first half, and it's obviously the defense in general, team wise. But Brock wasn't in the game when all of a sudden it went from 30 to 27 to a double digit.
That was a weird lineup that Fran had out there.
It was funky. But what have you seen from Brock Harding? I think this year that you like that shows great signs of encouragement moving forward.
Yeah, he's shooting the ball really well. He's shooting it around 40% from 3. That was the knock.
I worked with him this summer.
That was the knock on him.
You're not even going to respond to that.
I give all credit to Jordan Dell.
I do, yeah.
But,
and Matt Gatens.
And Matt Gatens, who
can shoot it a little bit as well.
Yeah, Matt Gatens adjusted his shot. But he's stepped in there and done what I think we both thought he could do and thought he would do. Peyton Sanford's getting banged on a lot by a lot of people. And I just remember at the draft camp when he went down and he kind of hurt his shoulder.
Yeah.
I think that still lingers, that something happened there.
Okay.
And I think that's impacted him. And the game at Vibrant Arena, that here in Moline, just stone's throw from here, that game, both he and Josh Dix hurt their wrists, and it wasn't just like a minor thing. It was both major things. So the fact that they're playing, didn't really miss any time.
And those are two dudes that need to be good for Iowa to be good.
Yeah. Josh missed one game, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And Peyton that kid's, I know he's not shooting it well. And there's nobody that it bugs more than Peyton. I mean, he cares. He wants to lead. He wants to win. He's out there trying his best, but he is banged up, and that's impacting his play, I think.
Give me prediction for tonight, and then I want to talk about Iowa basketball, big picture.
I think Iowa's going to come out and play some good defense tonight. I think they're going to come out with a mission to I think they're pretty embarrassed by what happened. 78-70 Iowa.
Okay. I actually would agree. I don't know if they win by 8, but I think they do get back on the right side of things. I think the Indiana game this weekend is big.
Yeah.
Get back above water in the Big Ten, get things rolling in the right direction. I think what we're seeing big picture-wise with the Big Ten, I'll talk to you about that because, and actually just to kind of promote for tomorrow, Jess Settles is going to be in with me tomorrow, so not here in studio, but he will be with us tomorrow. He's calling the Iowa State game tonight, so we'll get his thoughts on the Cyclones. We can look back at the Iowa game from tonight as well, and then Illinois plays on Wednesday. For all you Illinois people on the already on YouTube that are saying that I don't have the Illinois helmet and all that kind of stuff yet. I had Cole Rusk on yesterday. We're gonna have plenty of Illinois stuff on here as well too. So Jess Settles will break all that things down. But when you look big picture in the Big Ten, I mean, you look at somebody like Illinois that goes out west and they take care of business against Washington. But that Oregon game kind of turned some heads on the way that they're playing some really good basketball.
Missing a player or two, I
Yeah.
thought. A couple of at least one key injury. So, but Illinois is playing well.
When it comes to
it's
Oregon,
a whole different roster. It's wild what Brad Underwood has been able to do.
He adapts better than any coach in college.
He dumped that
basketball.
whole roster.
He dumped that whole. What do you mean by dumped, Tom?
I don't know. They're not there anymore. They're not there anymore except for Ty Rodgers, and he's redshirting.
The way I look at it is because he jumped in the transfer thing and really embraced that. And then when the transfer thing wasn't working that great, he embraced. I mean, he's found ways to now it's the overseas kids.
Well,
have
the
come
kid
in
from
and played
Lithuania
really well.
or wherever he's from is just, he's a pro.
Yeah, he's really good.
Yeah.
And they have
then got
another
the
one
kid
coming
from,
in that they want to try
got
to get
the
to.
kid from what's he from? Evansville.
Yeah. Yep.
He's really good.
Do you think Ked's watching this yelling because you said dumping kids?
No.
We'll get Ked Prince in here real soon.
He'd admit that they just Underwood does not mince words.
Flip it from Illinois to Oregon. Do you think Oregon, UCLA, USC, Washington will find life a little bit more difficult in the Big Ten?
Curious how they do on the road.
Because the Pac-12, while it wasn't, I mean, had
Curious
parity.
how they do on the road because it's a long travel and the environments are going to be a little more.
Yeah, I mean, and we're talking to Chasson here in a little bit.
Although like Arizona State, I mean, it's always interesting down there with that the curtain that they'd put, but there's nobody there.
You go to Stanford and there's nobody at Stanford.
Yeah,
you look at Oregon, I think in Illinois
there.
In Illinois, beat writer probably I think put up they had the curtain down at Oregon. Like there wasn't even people.
Yeah, there's probably no students there.
Yeah, it's just so. How will the crowd be in Iowa City tonight?
Probably not as good as the women's crowd was on Sunday.
Students aren't in town?
No.
So
that'll until the weekend of the 20th.
Okay, you mentioned. Okay, so let's do Fran big picture and then talk about the Iowa women.
Yep.
And then we'll hit a break here. Big picture wise for Fran McCaffrey.
Yep.
It's been how many years now?
14.
I'm a Fran guy. I like Fran a lot.
I do too.
I think when it comes to the fan base, there's apathy.
It's Dr. Tom.
And I don't think I think they want to either not like him or love him. I think fans just have kind of checked out from Iowa basketball, which is sad.
Yeah.
Your thoughts?
And I think, here's what I think about some of the attendance stuff, and I have nothing to base this on.
I love opinions with no facts.
Other than it's just a blind opinion. I think people just have only have a finite amount of time on their hands. And they decided that about 2 years ago that women's basketball was what Iowa fans were going to support in the winter. And they don't have time to go to 3 games a week or whatever. They've only got time to do 1 or 2. So they were going to go watch Caitlin Clark, and they've gotten in the habit of watching women's basketball, because women's basketball used to be like, I shouldn't say like men's is now. But there's, the women's games, even when Megan Gustafson was there, it was, 5, 6, 7,000 a night. And they had the curtains down up top. And now it's, Caitlin's gone, but the fans they fell in love with women's basketball.
Yeah.
And they're easy to like. I mean, they're just wonderful young ladies. Just all of them. Just awesome. Lucy Olson, new star player. I mean, she's terrific. Sid and Kylie and Hannah, everybody on the team. I mean, they're all great people to be around, and they're relatable, and they're friendly to the kids. Not that the men's players aren't, because they're great too.
Yeah.
But it's just they just got in this habit now of, hey, I really like going to the women's games.
Well, isn't it hard to be? Yeah, I mean, I coach 4th grade basketball with Scott Hardison, who's the Geneseo girls coach, and he's like, hey, going to the Iowa game this weekend. And I right away thought like men's, and no, he's the girls coach at Geneseo, but they're heading up there. Andrew Lehman, who's going to be in studio, the tournament director of the John Deere Classic, big Iowa fan, kind of says the same thing. They've been to a lot more Iowa women's games. You can, if you look at the schedule, you weren't going to go to, are you going to go to Carver Hawkeye on Sunday, and then again on Tuesday, and then again on Saturday? And if there was a girls game in between, I know it doesn't always work that way, but you can't go to 4 games in a week, 3 games in a week.
You just don't. Nobody has that much.
You look at
unless you're a retiree, and even then, do you want to go venture out in the winter at night? I don't know.
Yes, I agree with what you're saying. I also roll my eyes because, like, if you're an Iowa basketball fan, you should. Yes, winter's been winter back in the '90s when it sold out. It's probably a harsher winter in the '90s.
But it was. They made the choice for going to the men's games, not the women.
Totally agree. And if you look back to Steve Alford's era, and he, like, people talk about how he was battling a football school. Well, now you're not even battling a program that's across the street in a different time.
In the same building.
You're battling exactly the same building, same program, all that kind of stuff. So, it can be interesting to see. We can talk all day about the attendance issues and problems at the university. Look at the phone. Make sure we don't have an update.
I know we're.
I'm okay with that.
We are live.
We're on Gronowski Watch.
We're on. But just nothing yet.
Oh, come on, Tom.
Nothing that I see.
Come on, Tom.
Yet.
Jason on the YouTube stream also talked Stratton. Would he be somebody that might hit the portal?
Boy, I don't know about Shaggy.
You got to always have a nickname for everybody. It makes you cool. No, I'm just kidding.
No,
I know that's his nickname.
That was the guys on the I think Nick Jackson gave him that.
It's a great nickname.
Shaggy from Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, if you like Scooby,
Mr. Machine.
But you think he sticks around?
I do. He just didn't seem to be all that threatened, and he's not on scholarship, but I think he's appreciating the opportunity to be part of the program, and he's probably got it pretty good. I mean, why would you want to start again? You're 2-0.
Yeah. Back to basketball real quick, because you said year 14 of Fran, and he's got all his family's going. Butler.
Here's I get why people would draw conclusions or whatever, but there's a reality for Fran. Connor's coaching. He's an assistant coach for Thad Mata at Butler. Patrick is wrapping up his career there.
Jack's going there.
And Jack McCaffrey is going to graduate from Iowa City West this year, and he's going to play at Butler. So, I think you kind of, you look at things.
Go on, Tom.
No, it's just like logical that maybe part of his heart is going to be in Indy.
Yeah.
Obviously Connor is dating Caitlin. Everyone knows this.
Yeah. And
she is in Indianapolis too. So, it's like the whole family is there. But he has contract through 27-28 season, I think.
So that's 3 more years. This one and 2 more.
He's got a contract. So, I suspect he's not going to walk away from making $3 million or whatever it is a year. Although he's like one of the lowest paid coaches in the Big Ten right now, I think.
And there's a lot of fans that would say, good. But I'm not there. I'm one of the minority probably that.
Hey, remember when, people kind of ran, Dr. Tom got stale, and then what was that like?
If Fran had made
the drama of Alford and the bottoming out with Lick.
What's the Sweet 16 drought?
99. Jess Settles played on that team.
Jess Settles on the show tomorrow right here on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. Good plug.
Jar Koch, whose son is playing on the Iowa team now,
was on that team. Oh wow! So I think like that's the
Kent McCausland.
That's the trump card that every anti-Fran guy has. Is but you can always return that with. Do you remember the Todd Licklider years? Do you remember the end of the Alford era? Like I give Fran a ton of credit of picking up a dormant program and bringing it back to relevancy, but I think apathy is a thing. So we'll see where it all goes. We don't want to get too far into the future about anything. No. And here's the thing too, is Fran's teams have played well in February usually they get cooking this time of year. So we'll see if they can get rolling. It starts tonight. And you will be up in Iowa City.
They've got Nebraska, Indiana, and then they head out west to play at USC and UCLA.
Yeah.
So
love it.
Busy stretch.
Love it. No, there'll be a lot to get to. Before I let you go, and I might even lock the door because we got Chasson Randle up next. And we have Jay Kidwell after that. But I want Tommy hanging around because I do want to get any reaction or thoughts if Gronowski does decide on Iowa or goes to the NFL, all that kind of stuff. We're on Gronowski watch, I guess, on day 2 of the Off the Air with Matt Randazzo.
I can't believe this kid is just torturing Iowa fans. I mean, they're just going crazy.
We'll see. But you are a Bears fan.
I am.
Where do you want this thing to go?
Mike Vrabel.
That's the smart. Good for you. And you're not a smart Bears fan, so that's one of the smartest Bears things.
I'm the smartest Bears fan. I do not want the Mike McCarthy thing. Just told me that these people are incompetent and all need to be fired.
Yeah, I mean,
the fact that they want to talk to him.
It makes no sense. I did read today that Ben Johnson, and he had said this, isn't going to just interview for everybody. So it looks like he's going to do the Bears and he's going to do the Patriots. And it's funny because I kind of have Vrabel going to the Patriots.
I thought maybe the Jags were that was the rumor that the Jags were, but I think I don't think he likes Trent Baalke, their GM. That would be my guess.
And I think they got rid of Doug Peterson, but they didn't get rid of him. Do you think
he probably just hates AEW?
And who doesn't?
Well,
I mean, who doesn't? Besides Dan Umland, I don't know anybody who loves the AEW. Would you like Ben Johnson? And you know who you're talking to.
Yeah.
But
I like what he's done.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're going to talk to Aaron Glenn too.
Can you sell me on Caleb Williams a little more than where I'm at right now?
Sure.
And here let me give my.
I think the offensive line was so bad.
But why was everybody telling me that he was the rookie quarterback coming into the best situation ever of rookie quarterback?
In terms of,
and they were going to make the playoffs.
Their offensive line got beat up, for one.
Yeah, but it's not very good, even when it's healthy. But yeah.
No, it was better when it was healthy. What they were talking about was that he had, DJ Moore and Cole Kmet and Keenan Allen.
They never throw the ball to Cole Kmet. I agree with what you're saying.
I'm just saying he had weapons. I think they made a horrible offensive coordinator hire with Waldron.
Agree.
I think that was just.
So here, real quick, where I'm at.
Here's the thing that the thing that bothers Bears fans is you have a clock that your rookie quarterbacks are on that rookie contract, and you wasted a year.
But you don't know.
You should have fired Eberflus last
1,000%.
And just
you should fire Poles now, and get everything on the same cycle. Because let's say they're not good next year, which they're not going to be, folks, because they're in the best division in football. Let's say they're not great next year. Then who's the
football can
scapegoat
change
is going to be?
Though.
It can't.
Football can change.
No,
quickly.
it can't. I get that.
You can go worst to first easily.
The one thing you can't do is go from like 3 wins to 9 wins
Here's the-
to
here's the
12
thing.
wins
Here's the
to
thing.
15 wins. Let me finish my Lions thing.
No,
There's
here's
no
the
way
thing.
that a team
But
can
you
go
look
that.
at you look at like what the Chargers did this year. It's a head coach, Jim Harbaugh.
No, that's true.
He's goofy as
and
hell.
he could have
but-
been. He could have been in.
But Harbaugh could have been in Chicago.
He could have been in Chicago, and he didn't do
and
it.
he would have won.
Yes. So real quick, my Caleb thing is on all quarterbacks in
obsessed.
general. No, I'm not. It's just right now where here's where I'm at with Caleb
I'm gonna
Williams.
fall out of my chair.
Hold on. Here's where I'm at with Caleb Williams. If you ask me if he's going to be good, I'd say 50-50. Is that fair? And here's why I'll preference it. C.J. Stroud after last year, I would have said.
C.J. Stroud you were like
I would have said
80%,
100%.
80, 90%.
And look where we're at now.
Yeah, and he's a wreck.
So Jalen Daniels,
Jane
Daniels,
Yeah.
at 75%. That could change. Bryce Young last year at the end of the year, 10%.
Oh God, he was drummed out of the league.
Now I'm
he was
50.
benched this year.
Now 50-60%. Maybe he's going to be good.
Yeah.
He was really good. So all I'm saying when it comes to Caleb is you just have to. I mean, it's going to take 2-3 years to figure these things out. Jordan Love got a huge contract. Has he been great this year?
No.
That's just so you have to wait and see with young quarterbacks, and that's my only thing with Caleb is any fan that's online taking a video of a good throw and saying this guy is the best thing ever.
He has ridiculous arm talent.
So does a lot of quarterbacks. So does Justin Fields.
Yeah.
He looks the part.
Yeah.
So, but that's where Ben Johnson could help. Don't take him. I don't want to just Ben's going to go. He's going to go someplace. Who's going to win the Super Bowl?
Is Pat Mahomes still playing football?
Who's going to be there in the NFC?
It won't matter. Is Pat Mahomes still playing football?
Will you give these guys any love at all?
No, because you pick on the Bears.
You've
You're
hated.
obsessed with
I've
the
made
Bears.
you hate them. Hey, he's Tom Kakert. HawkeyeReport.com. Check out all his stuff. He'll be a familiar face on this show. I appreciate you coming out. Yeah. Next time you come out, we'll watch wrestling instead of talk sports upstairs. And we'll keep you updated on the Mark Gronowski stuff. Could he commit to the University of Iowa? But check him out on Twitter as well. What is it? At Hawkeye Report?
At Hawkeye Report.
Pretty
yes.
simple. So
yeah, I'm not on any of those other things. I'm on, I don't know where I'm at. But
he doesn't know where he's at half the time. We got a lot more to get to. Coming up after a break, we're going to sit with and chat with Chasson Randle. And then after that, Jay Kidwell in the second hour of Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. Thanks so much for joining us on a Tuesday.
Hello, Dan Pearson here of FCA. Our team is thrilled to support Off the Air with our good friend Matt Randazzo. We share the view of the power of sport when it comes to relationships, including the influence of the coach. FCA believes the coach is the most influential person in America. Matt celebrates local coaches and athletes. His content is informational, insightful, and inspirational. Our Fellowship of Christian Athlete team loves partnering with Off the Air with Matt Randazzo while we engage, equip, and empower coaches and athletes in our 23 counties. FCA, the heart and soul in sports.
View from the West, the podcast covering Illinois high school football.
It's going to be a hard-hitting game. It's going to be great football.
Weekly analysis and reaction from around the western side of the state of Illinois.
This is the game we had circled when the year started.
Follow along on YouTube and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
It's big-time football out there tonight, and I know we can play big-time football.
View from the West. We got you covered.
Are you looking for the Quad City's best chips and salsa? There's only one dude to turn to.
Right on.
Snoop. Hand-cut chips, fried fresh with that crunch you've come to love. And the most addicting salsa with delicious fresh ingredients each and every time. Pick up your chips and salsa, queso, enchiladas, and much more at the Stern Center in Rock Island. To place your order, simply call the man himself. It's Snoop at 309-314-8197 and find out for yourself what the rest of the Quad Cities already loves. Welcome back to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. When I decided to start doing this venture, I thought of my first week and who I had to have on. And some of my favorite athletes that I've gotten to cover over 25 years of doing this, and one of them that stood out very top of that list is our next guest, and it's a good friend of ours, former Rock Island standout, former Stanford star, NBA player, professional basketball player, all around good dude. Did I cover everything? Chasson Randle in the house.
You. Yeah, that was perfect. Thank you.
You have been
More
busy.
than enough.
You have been busy, but before when I get to where you're at and what you're doing, all those kind of things, it seems weird because we go way back, and you used to be a youngin' to me. I can remember you coming into the station when you were probably a freshman, and you're not 14, 15 anymore. Can you just talk about this relationship, this friendship, and it's funny because when you meet good people, I always say when you meet good people in life, you kind of realized it. I could kind of tell at an early age that you're a pretty good kid. Now you're a really good dude. You're no kid anymore. But we've always continued to, whether it was at Stanford or in the NBA or whatever, we always check in on each other, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. From the moment that I was introduced to you, it's been nothing but genuine, friendship, genuine care, and concern for one another in both, my career, your career. And, we've kept the relationship going for over, 15, 16 years now. So it's been pretty cool. Yeah, and I appreciate you for keeping me in the loop with, all the things that you've done in the community. And, I'm sure we got another, 30 plus, 40 plus to go. So
I don't know if we can
I'm
can make it that long, but I like it. Hey, because it is interesting because I did reach out when I kind of told you what was going on, and my last couple weeks at the station, I thought about like those things, those teams, those people that I've gotten to cover, and that 2011 Rock Island team is like one of those teams. There's very few of them. It was special for me, so it had to be special for you. We'll talk about where you're at in your career, but it started here in the Quad Cities. It started at Rock Island, and it's something that you're super proud of, and you think about all the time, don't you?
Yeah, definitely. My experiences in the Quad Cities and in Rock Island shaped who I am today and the career that I've had in a lot of ways. That toughness, the grit, the willingness to work hard and, show up no matter what's going on in your day to day and what's going on, good or bad, So I'm extremely grateful for my experiences and my time in Rock Island and the Quad Cities. I still keep up with a lot of my friends and coaches there. And whenever I'm home, it always feels like home. So I carry the QC, carry Rock Island with me everywhere I go. And that 2011 team was very special. And all those guys that I played with, I still try to keep in contact with as well. And those memories will last forever. So I'm forever grateful.
All right. Where is Chasson Randle right now? I don't know if you remember this, but one time I had you in the station. I asked you, like, what do you want to do, basketball and beyond, and how long you wanted to do this basketball stuff. And I can remember you always saying to me, I want to play this game for as long as I can because I can only do it for so long. Eventually, someday, you're not going to be able to do it. You're not that old, and you're still doing great, but where are you at right now? I know you're doing some FIBA USA stuff. You're in the G League. You just got traded this week, so kind of fill everybody in where Chasson Randle is right now.
Yeah, so currently, I guess geographically, I'm in Portland, Oregon right now, preparing for a G League game. And yeah, I'm here in the G League playing currently. Back in November, around Thanksgiving, I was playing with Team USA and trying to help them qualify for the AmeriCup, tournament that's coming up this summer. And, I'm just enjoying playing the game. Like right now, currently 31, still enjoying literally waking up every day with a goal in mind to get better, and put all my effort and energy into continue to become the best basketball player that I can be. And as long as I feel like I still have that joy, I'll continue to do it. I know you said, I wanted to play this game as long as I can, and I still do. Some days are tougher than others, waking up with aches and bumps and bruises. But I'm grateful that I have this, as I can call this a job, and that I've had the ability and the experiences that I've had for the last 10 years. So, it's something that comes up more often now. People ask me how long you want to play, how long you think you want to do it. And, I still can't give them an exact date, when I think it'll be over for me. But as long as I still have the joy to wake up every day and put forth my best effort into getting better, whether in the weight room, on the court, or ultimately becoming a better basketball player, I'll continue to do it. And I still enjoy going into the locker room and seeing guys and smiling and continue to build that camaraderie with teammates and coaches and seeing the smiles on kids' faces when I go to the arenas. And that's something that I know once I'm done, I'll miss. So I want to enjoy it as long as I can and, continue to put forth my best effort every day.
So I know throughout your career, I've always said, are you enjoying this? Or in some way, shape, or form, I've asked that question. And you've always said, yes, but I got more to do. And I'm not saying you don't have more to do, but you sound like maybe a wiser Chasson Randle right now, or an older Chasson Randle right now. Have you reflected back? I tried to ask you after going to the Sweet 16, and you're like, it was awesome, but I'm excited for this. Or, NITs, or your first game when you played in the NBA up in Milwaukee. Me and Andy McKay made the trip up to see your first game, and it was always, what's next? Do you find yourself reflecting back a little bit more at the things you've gotten to do now that you're a dad? We'll talk about that in a second, but those things, remember when I became a dad, it puts life in perspective. Have you looked back at all? Do you catch yourself reminiscing at all?
At times, but it's not, of my own doing. It's usually people that'll come up to me like, man, I remember when you played at Stanford, or I remember when you played for the Knicks, and that'll take me back to those times, and I'll have the opportunity to reflect and think about it. And, people share their experiences and their memories of those times, and, it'll bring me back. So, I don't really get too much time to think about it because I'm still in it every day and pursuing, what I'm pursuing. So, I like to stay in the present, right now, rather than go back. When I'm done, I can reflect and think about all the cool stuff that I was able to accomplish and all the cool people I've been able to meet, and so much, growth that's happened over, this, 16-year span I've been playing basketball, from high school to professional and all that. So, I'll look back later. 18 years, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. I saw your old man this weekend. I like to and I saw, and your mom as well. I can remember your mom driving you to the station your first time you were on in the studio, and now you're a married man and two kids. Tell us about married life. I remember the last time you came into the station, it was kind of a full circle moment for me, because I remember that little kid who I used to make fun of, because sometimes you had the puffy hair, sometimes you had the shorter hair. I always like to give you a hard time. You're trying to get those extra inches, I think, for the college recruiters. But you came in with your lovely wife, and at the time you're one boy, and now you got a daughter. Tell everybody, Chasson Randle's a family man, which is a cool thing. And it was kind of a full circle thing for me. What is life as a dad like? And we talked before we got on air, and your smile was awesome when you just talked about him.
Yeah. So first off, married life is a lot harder than you think. But
I know.
It's great. It's been so rewarding. Yeah.
Be careful.
It's been so rewarding. Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm going to watch what I say, because she'll definitely see this. But she's made, my wife has made every single day that much sweeter for me. And with the addition of my children, it's been, the greatest blessing that, I've ever had, So I'm grateful. My son is a ball full of energy. He loves all types of sports. So, be on the lookout for him later.
There you go.
Down the road, and he brings a smile to my face every single day. I mean, my daughter is just the sweetest little thing, and I'm biased, of course, but she's just so sweet and calm, and she brings a different energy to the household. So I'm grateful for both of them, including my wife, and I definitely realize that I'm blessed to have them. So, yeah.
Let's stick with your wife for a second, because I'll speak from my own experience. To do anything, you need to have that rock, that partner in life that sacrifices for you. I mean, I'm working weird hours when I was doing the TV thing, and my wife was awesome. And then when I switched to do this, she's been my biggest fan and encouraging it and sacrificing along the way. And that's just being a goofy TV guy and now old podcasting guy. You're a professional basketball player. Talk about that, because the sacrifices she gives, I know that you're grateful and you cherish that every single day.
Yeah, absolutely. My wife is, she's like the toughest soldier ever. There's times where she's alone with the kids, and, I'm away on a road trip for, 7+ days, and, she's doing it, and every single day she's coming in with a smile on her face and making sure that the kids are fed and they're bathed and clothed, and she supported me, even before we had children, going back to, my first year out of college. We were long distance, and she was there for me, supporting me. When she could, she came out to, Europe, and then, and other times we were doing dates and calls through FaceTime and Skype, back in the day. So, she's definitely, someone that I know is supposed to be in my life, and I'm grateful to have her in my life. And without her, I don't think I am the man who I am today. So.
Oh, you're earning brownie points. This is good. Make sure you show her this. Make sure you get.
Yeah, for sure. We got to make sure she sees this. For sure.
Right. Let's talk.
But I mean every word, though.
I know you do. Rock Island, you mentioned how special it was. How much do you keep up with goes on with Rock Island Athletics? I know Coach Sigel is no longer at the program. Coach Polite's doing a great job with it right now, especially this year. How much do you keep up with what goes on at Rock Island High School? I see Willie there every single time I step in the gym, so I'm sure he's keeping you up to date, isn't he?
Absolutely, yeah. My dad is keeping me up to date, as well as, other friends and family members within the community. I'm following, whether through them or through, social media accounts, Twitter. I know that you can stream games. So I'll be, looking at games at, wee hours of the night and stuff like that to check them out. And I'm impressed, that they do a great job of playing well together. And, I'm hoping and rooting for them to keep, the momentum and playing great basketball. So go Rocks.
I remember the last time we did an interview, I think it was right after Moline won that state championship. And I asked you then, but I got to ask you again. Boy, those are my two favorite basketball team, boy-wise, to cover. And they're both really, really good. In your prime, which team wins and why? You got to give me a why. You can't just be biased.
Of course, I'm going to go ahead and say, the 2011 Rock Island Rocks. I think if you look at it, they have some great players, but we were gritty, we were tough. We went through Chicago and beat up on the Chicago City champions and did it convincingly, and it wasn't just the Chasson Randle show. Like, I had guys around me who were great basketball players as well, and stepped up when we needed them to. So I'm always going to rock with my guys, and I'm going to say 2011 Rock Island Rock.
No, I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all. Do you keep up with Coach Sigel? Do you guys keep in touch? And are you a better golfer yet than Coach Sigel? That's all he does is hang out at Deer Run and golf.
Nah, he's dedicated. He's dedicated on the golf course. And I need to get back out there with him. He definitely can show me a thing or two. Because it's been a while since I've swung them. Just being so busy as a dad and with my career. But I talk to him every now and then. It's a new year. I haven't talked to him just yet, so I have to reach out to him after this interview and make sure everything is good and his swing is still right.
Oh, sure. That's all he's doing. Hey, a few more for you. I got some phone questions, but Quad City basketball, and I know we've had this conversation a lot, both on interviews we've done and then just in general, but, I mean, it continues to pump out product after product. It didn't start with Chasson Randle, but it kind of has picked up around your time and then after. What is it about this area? I know a common denominator that he hates attention, but and now he's a head coach at the college level, but JD, Jordan Delp, has done, I think, a lot with this area. But this area was slept on for too long, and it doesn't seem like it is anymore. What is it about this area that makes Quad City area basketball special?
I just think that, like, the area loves sports in general, but when it comes to basketball, it's just something special. Like, you got both the Iowa and Illinois sides, and there's a lot of attention that goes into it, from the community. Like, everybody loves being inside on a Friday night watching high school basketball, and I think, it's like the only show in town. So once you know that and you realize that, it's like you're putting all your effort into becoming the best player that you can be, to be able to produce and put on a show when it comes to those Friday nights. And seeing you, we play a game, and after the game we want to turn on Matt Randazzo and see what did he put my highlight up? You know what I mean?
No, the media is good around here. I don't know if it's Matt Randazzo, but the media has been really good for a long time.
Hey man, you deserve it. You deserve it, to be honest. Like I said, I remember nights where I would come home after games and we turn on Channel 8 and see if Matt put our highlight up. So I think it's a culmination of a lot of things. Or a combination of a lot of things, the media, the fans, the community, and then the schools. They do a great job of promoting athletics and promoting basketball and football and soccer. And, the Quad City's always been great. And, once you add on those key factors and then social media and, the growth of all of these sports and games globally, like where there's more access, it becomes this mega thing that you're seeing today, where you've got a bunch of D1 athletes coming out of the QC, and of course Jordan Delp, he's played a big role in producing, or helping produce these great basketball players. But I have to give a shout out to Nas Shabazz too. He's a good one as well, and I'm sure there's a bunch that I'm missing who are on the underground or haven't been seen or heard about just yet, but they're producing great talent as well. So and then there's just great coaching as well in general at the high school level. Like, there's a lot of factors that go into what you're seeing today, and how all these great athletes are coming out of the QC and becoming noticed on both the girls' side and boys' side, because we have to give a shout out to the ladies. They're doing a great job as well. Have been.
Those ladies, those young ladies we have in our area are good, Chasson. They're really good. It's fun to watch.
They're serious, man. Like, in a lot of ways, they're a little bit more fierce than the boys. So it's been cool to see.
It's been outstanding to see. A couple fun questions for you. Best Western Big Six gym besides the Rock Garden. You cannot say the Rock Garden. What's the place that you love to go into and rip that student section's heart out? What's that place?
Yeah, so I always enjoyed going into Wharton. That was fun, just the old school gym and all the history that's there as well. Quincy, people love winning in Quincy. Whenever you can, that's a tough place to play, and you always heard about the devil and the fire and all of that.
So real quick, Chasson, my son is a freshman at Alleman. He's playing a little bit of sophomore ball too. So he's going down to Quincy this Friday for the first time.
Nice.
And I try to tell him about the pitchfork and the fire, and he don't believe me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that stuff
Yeah.
sticks with you, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, it definitely does. It definitely does. It's like something that you don't get everywhere, and especially as a high school athlete, it's like, how do they get the money to do all this fire and stuff? But
Are you
cool.
one of those guys? Are you one of those guys that almost liked playing on the road more than at home?
Absolutely.
And what is it? I think that's
it's-
crazy, but the best competitors always seem to say that.
Yeah, if you go and look at my stats, you'll probably see me, the numbers are probably better on the road. I don't know if it's due to locking in a little bit more or being a little bit more focused, but there's something about being on the road and, having that crowd behind you screaming and booing you that gives you a little extra motivation. So I think that could have something to do with it as well.
If you could redo one basketball season of your life, and I'm talking, it could be 5-year-old YMCA ball with Willie coaching or whatever, or it could be at Stanford, it could be at Rock Island. If you could redo or relive one of those seasons, the results would all be the same. What would it be?
Yeah. If I could relive one season, well, that's a great.
That's why I'm one of the best,
Yeah.
Chasson. That's why I've done this
Yeah,
for
that's
25
a great
years,
question.
right?
That's a great question.
Now,
And
let
the
me help
results
you.
being the same.
Let me help you. Remember, more people in Rock Island are going to see this than at
Well,
Stanford
yeah,
or New
it'll
Orleans.
definitely be. The answer is definitely a Rock Island season. I'm just trying to determine whether it be my sophomore year or my senior year.
Why?
Yeah, my sophomore year we finished in the Elite Eight that sophomore year, and I just remember being a young guy with the seniors that we had, just being able to pick their brains a little bit more, and play with them again. We had some great guys on that team, Brandon Pullman, and we had Julius and DQ and all those guys, and that was just a fun time. So just to relive some of those moments again would be pretty cool.
I love it. 10 years from now, what's Chasson Randle doing?
10 years from now, wow. Well, I'll still be a dad. First and foremost.
A dad of how many?
Ooh, man, you know what? We'll pause that. I'm not gonna say anything. We need to slow down a little bit.
Well said. I appreciate that.
Yeah, but hopefully still involved with the game of basketball. Whether it's front office, scouting, something like that. I don't think I'll be playing still. But who knows? You never know. And then hopefully, starting other ventures outside of basketball as well, or well on my way with those ventures outside of basketball. So
I love it.
Yeah, some type of businessman, mixed with basketball exec or something.
I love it. One more for you, and then I promise I'll let you go. What's the coolest contact you have in your cell phone right now? Who's the coolest person? If you looked at your cell phone and you said, I got this person's number, I got to believe that it's probably after how many years of professional basketball? I got to think there's some pretty good numbers in there.
Yeah, there's some pretty cool names in there. To say one, that's a great, man. You got some great questions, man.
See? I'm not done. I'm just getting started, man.
Yeah.
People thought I retired. I ain't retired.
Yeah, I know. I don't want to leave anybody out. Let's see here. I'm going to give another shout out to QC legend, Roger Craig.
Oh,
Roger Craig. Yeah.
I didn't see that one coming.
Yeah. I'm gonna put Roger Craig. He's the coolest contact that I have on my phone.
That's the best way to wrap this thing up. If you can name drop Roger Craig on my first week of shows, mission accomplished. Hey, I can't thank you enough for doing this. One of the things I tell people is that I no longer have time constraints. I legit could probably continue this conversation on for a couple hours. I'm not going to make you do that. But it means the world that you took some time with all the traveling that you've been doing to make some time for my first week of shows. We're always watching. The Randazzo boys are some of your biggest fans still to this day. And keep doing what you're doing, and tell that family of yours I said hi, and be blessed, my man. We'll talk to you real soon.
All right. Thanks, Matt. You as well.
All right. He is the one and only Chasson Randle. We got a lot more to get to right here on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. We will be right back.
Hello, Dan Pearson here of FCA. Our team is thrilled to support Off the Air with our good friend Matt Randazzo. We share the view of the power of sport when it comes to relationships, including the influence of the coach. FCA believes the coach is the most influential person in America. Matt celebrates local coaches and athletes. His content is informational, insightful, and inspirational. Our Fellowship of Christian Athlete team loves partnering with Off the Air with Matt Randazzo while we engage, equip, and empower coaches and athletes in our 23 counties. FCA, the heart and soul in sports.
View from the West, the podcast covering Illinois high school football.
It's going to be a hard-hitting game. It's going to be great football.
Weekly analysis and reaction from around the western side of the state of Illinois.
This is the game we had circled when the year started.
Follow along on YouTube and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
It's big-time football out there tonight, and I know we can play big-time football.
View from the West. We got you covered.
Are you looking for the Quad City's best chips and salsa? There's only one dude to turn to.
Right on.
Snoop. Hand-cut chips, fried fresh with that crunch you've come to love. And the most addicting salsa with delicious fresh ingredients each and every time. Pick up your chips and salsa, queso, enchiladas, and much more at the Stern Center in Rock Island. To place your order, simply call the man himself. It's Snoop at 309-314-8197 and find out for yourself what the rest of the Quad Cities already loves. Welcome back to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. Appreciate you guys watching on a Tuesday, January 7th. We want to thank Tom Kakert for being in. Always great to catch up with Chasson Randle, one of my favorite people. Yesterday's program had Pat Anger on it, as well as John Marks and Cole Rusk. If you missed that one, check it out on the YouTube channel as well. You can go back and watch yesterday's. A lot to get to later in the week. Coming up later in the week tomorrow, Jess Settles will join us to break down the Iowa game from tomorrow, if that makes sense. He's also on the call for the Iowa State game tonight, so we'll talk Cyclone basketball tomorrow. We can also preview Illinois. They play tomorrow night, so a lot to get to with Jess Settles. Also in the house tomorrow, the one and only Julian Vandervelde. Of course, back in my previous life, we started to do the score on a patio with a grill, and Julian set it on fire and made the show pretty popular. So I hope he can do the same thing for tomorrow. I don't want him to burn my house down, but we'll see what happens with Julian Vandervelde. Also, later in the week, Brock Harding will join us. Andrew Lehman from the John Deere Classic will join us. Greg Armstrong from View from the West podcast will be out as well. That and much, much more. So we have a lot to get to as we get ready for week one of the show. Things are going decent. And when I put together guests to talk to, one guy I've never done any TV, radio, media with is a guy that I've spent more time with than my wife, I think, over the last 25 years. The one and only Jay Kidwell joins me. And I want you, first off, thanks for coming all the way out to the house.
I am absolutely thrilled to be here. Matt Randazzo, I am so impressed with you.
Stop it.
No, honestly, the courage that it takes, the courage that it took for you to change your way of life, to leave a wonderful job at Channel 8, which you loved and still do, and to embrace this new adventure. I am so impressed, and listening to your lineup and what you're doing, boy, it's
easy
it.
for week one. I'm worried about like 2 months from now when I'm just like trying to beg anybody to come out to the house. But
if this is the ground floor, you're doing a great job.
Jay Kidwell and I have known each other since, probably 2001. Yeah. And so we're going on 25 years almost of knowing each other. And we kind of joke, and I joke about like, I spent more time, but you do. And people ask me like, hey, like the rival stations. And this isn't Anchorman where like we're going to meet in a back alley and fight. Like we're genuinely good friends. We spend a lot of time with each other, help each other. And for me, that was instilled with me from Dan Pearson, because I worked with him as an intern, and I remember being out at a softball game one day and I ran out of batteries. This is when I had more hair. And I was like, I'm out of batteries. The game was going to extra innings, and he's like, just run out to my car and get a battery. And I'm like, and he's like, yeah. And he kind of taught me like, we're all in this thing together. Yes, we can be competitive and we want to get our stuff on and all those kind of things, but we genuinely like each other. And that's kind of the same process that you've taken. Kind of talk about that, because you, above everybody, because I'm not nearly as nice as Jay is, have taken people under their wings and embraced, just everybody in our business, I guess.
Well, great story with Dan Pearson, and that doesn't surprise me in the least. But I'll tell you what, that's something that I know that you've helped me out with, or Corey, and I think it's gone both ways multiple times. We've all been there where like the equipment didn't quite last as long, the battery didn't last quite as long as we were hoping for. But yeah, we're all doing the same thing. Yeah. Sure, people are going to watch who they're going to watch, and or hopefully they'll sample all of us or what have you. But yeah, just be a good person, and good things come around, that type of thing. Can I just make one thing about Chasson Randle?
Yeah, I was just going to mention, because we just got done with Chasson, and that's one of my favorites. That's why I had to have him on like my first week, and you echo those comments as well, I'm sure.
Boy, just an outstanding, impressive young man. I'll always remember after that Rock Island State Championship weekend. Boy, what an unbelievable run that was with Rock Island. But so they win the state championship. It was a double overtime on that Saturday in Peoria.
And he had fouled out.
But they won. Sunday was that huge championship ceremony at the field house. And what a day that was. So now it's Monday afternoon. It's Monday afternoon at 5 o'clock. Rock Island baseball is playing a game. And you know what those March spring games can be like.
They're awful. I can say it now because I'm not in it. But
well, I mean, just like drizzle, 42 degrees, a breeze, kind of a tough situation.
You're begging for runs so that you can get out.
And it's basically, proud parents cheering on their baseball boys and all of that. Yeah. Chasson Randle was in the bleachers rooting on the Rock Island baseball team. This is literally less than 48 hours after winning a state championship. And he's out there on if it was sunny and 70,
beautiful day to hang out.
It was a rough day to be there. And there he is. And I'm like, boy, it just sort of was the frosting on the cake as to what an impressive man he is.
Talk to me about some of that, because I went through it going and leaving WQAD. I kind of went through the memories in the memory bank, but you've done this for a minute. That Rock Island State Championship team is right there near the top of the experiences I got to experience. The Moline State Championship, which wasn't nearly as long ago, but just recently. What are some of those stories that when all said and done for you, you'll sit back and go like, I was lucky to get to do that? And the thing that's funny is I think most people would be like, hey, did you go to a Rose Bowl? Which I did. Yep. Or like the NCAA tournaments, which were all fun and great. Mm-hmm. But it's those high school events and those teams and those young people, I think, that kind of go to the top of my list. What about you?
Well, I'll tell you, the Moline State Championship run, what an unbelievable electric season that entire year was. And like Wharton Fieldhouse, it was like that was the place that entire season. And you could almost feel the energy, like parking outside Wharton and going in. You could just imagine just the anticipation and the excitement everybody had. And then Coach Taylor and the Maroons would be up like 24-3 after the first quarter. And you're like, well, the highlights are pretty good at this point. Yeah. But no, that was just an incredible run. And then that Saturday night down in Champaign, and they got it done. And then Brock's infamous line about how he's going to the right side of the river, heading over to Iowa, right in the land of the Illini. I mean, just sort of poking the bear a
Remember
little.
they grabbed those shirts?
Yes.
After the championship, they grabbed those Iowa shirts on the State Farm, which is funny because I think it'll be the first. They didn't play there last year, did they? Oh yeah, they did
go
there
down.
last year, but they'll be back there this year. But yeah, like they pranced around with those Hawkeye, the black and gold, which was fun to watch too.
Yeah, and those guys have just been incredible. They were incredible in Moline, and no surprise at their success here. Boy, I'll tell you what, I'm going to probably forget stuff, but I mean, just the day in and day out. Just a joy to sort of see, and just talking about some of the guests that you've got coming up, to see like how Chasson Randle, to see what these people have done, what these athletes have done in their years. It's just so impressive. Boy, this area, just with the talent that we've had to cover, is incredible.
And the thing is, it's not just the talent, but it's the people that they are.
Yeah.
And like you become like I've kept in touch with Chasson Randle because he's a good human being. Like he's just a really good person to be around and to be with. So those guys, the Joe Wieskamps, I hate to say it, but the Pat Angerers, those kind of people, it's easy to like. I mean, even out Liz Watkins, who coached at Rock Ridge recently, and like those people you become lifelong friends with. I think that's the beauty of this area because it doesn't change with the people in this area. That's the kind of the players are the way the people are in this area. And that's what's kept you here for as long as you've stayed here.
Yeah. When I came out here from Connecticut in end of May of 2001, I had no idea what I was, sort of getting involved with. I was the filling guy and the sports producer in Hartford, Connecticut. And Channel 4 gave me an opportunity to come out and be the main guy. And like, you know what? Looks like in a good spot. Let's go for it. Yeah. Wife was, have the importance of having a supportive wife.
Yes.
And she's like, let's go. And just quality of life in this area has been just fantastic. And, are there hiccups? Sure. But for the most part, do I love what I get to do? Absolutely. It's been fantastic. And, boy, what a great area to, raise the kids. And it's just been just terrific. And having colleagues like you, whether, we're all in the sports TV landscape over the years. Yeah. Just good people to work with.
You and I love the way you present because it's full of energy. And I tell people when like they'll say like, what's Jay Kidwell like? What you see is what you get. Like that's Jay. And take me through that because the authenticity is something that you want to have. Like, and I think it's the way I'm not going to say anything if I do, but like for the majority of the people I've ever worked with or around or like I always say with James Sahara, what you see from James that's James. Like, and you're the same way. Like when the camera is not on, you're still positive energy, excitement. Take me through that. And then also your approach to doing what you do, because there's a ton of energy and excitement in it.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that a lot. Means an
I can
awful
say
lot.
that now that I'm not on at the same time as you.
Well,
no, I'm just
well,
kidding.
You know what? And you've had an unbelievably successful career. There's no doubt about it.
Thanks.
And you will be missed, and you are missed. There's many times in just this short amount of time I've looked around and like, where is he? Where is it?
Well, hey,
I'll get used to it.
Now you know where I live.
Now I know where you are. But you know what? It's I get an opportunity to go do sports, something that I love to do. And if I can't get fired up to go do that, then I'm in the wrong business. And you know what? When Sam Smith is hitting a three-pointer or scoring a touchdown, if I can't get excited about that, then again, I'm fired up. I mean, this is their moment to shine, and I just want to be a part of it, or not a part of it, but just bring it out as best I can and celebrate all that they're doing. I mean, we're just sort of the ones that are putting it out there, but have a great time. This is one of my classic TV stories that you'll enjoy this. When I was in Connecticut, I first went down to the station there, and I was the weekend guy. I was sort of a filling guy because lo and behold, right before March Madness and all the UConn coverage, their weekend guy quit because they wanted him to put a season and review story together on the Huskies. And he's like, I'm not doing that. I'm out of here.
Oh, wow.
So
there are people like that. There's a few.
So the news director who I touched base with, I was up in Massachusetts about 45 minutes north, and he knew I was sort of in the wings or what have you. Literally called me down on a Friday afternoon, and I was working for them the next day because going into March, they needed help. Anyhow, that's sort of how it transpired. But I was the fill-in guy, so I don't think they ever looked at me as the permanent weekend guy. So then eventually they brought in a guy from Providence, Rhode Island to take the job, and then they bounced me to like fill-in guy and sports producer.
Been there.
But the news director, after a month or so, pulls me into the office, and he goes, Jay, I want you to work with John, which is the new guy, John. I want you to have him sort of bring the energy and do what you were doing. And I'm thinking, well, this isn't, like, if you wanted him to do what I was doing.
I could have just done it.
I could have just sort of, I mean, of course, I'm not saying this.
Yes.
But then I'm thinking, this isn't really fair to John because you saw what John does. And this is we're not all, it's Baskin Robbins,
totally
31
different.
flavors.
Yep.
We all do our thing. And if you like chocolate, great. If you like vanilla, great, whatever. Yeah. But is it fair to John to expect him to do what I do?
Yeah.
Not really. But anyhow, I tried my best or whatever. And anyhow, it all worked out. I got out here, and no, it's just been fantastic. I can't believe that it's been 20-plus years or that we've been doing it. But it's been a blast. It's been a fun ride.
The one thing I always tell people is you have to evolve in that business, in this business, in our business, and you do, and you continue to. And I was just talking with John Marks was on yesterday, and you have to, like, people are worried about local, I don't want to say sports, but local coverage, and like people worry about newspapers and everything else. It's not going away. It's just kind of changing. Mm-hmm. And we have to change along with it or evolve along with it. Have you seen that and it's not just now, this is nothing new. You have to evolve in everything in life. And I think that includes local sports and how you cover it.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt. And I will say I've had this current management at Channel 4 has been incredibly supportive.
Well done, Jay.
They have they've been.
I'm sure they're watching.
Yeah. Well, no, they've been really good. I mean, for the most part, whatever time we need or whatever resources. Mike Colon, who does a lot of shooting. Tyler, my son, who goes out and does a lot of shooting. Yeah. This management opened the door where he can, he works at the station, but now he's in the production department, but they'll let him drive a car to go to games.
Sure.
So the days, as we know, when he'd ride around with me to go to games.
Drop him off, go to another game, come back to get him.
Yeah, now he's on his own.
Yeah.
But no, just keeping the volume up, doing what you can to get what you can get. Oh, that's the other thing is, how the list is, the list on a Friday or is like this. So
it's not getting any smaller.
No.
You know what I mean? It's like, while it's resources sometimes, and I'm not bashing Channel 8 either. Like, we were given a lot of great stuff too, but just in the way you present things and stuff like that has to always kind of evolve and change as you go along with it. What are some, we kind of talked about some stories with the Moline, and what are some athletes that you'll always be like, or bucket list people that you like, I got to talk to this person or I got to do this? What are some of those?
Boy, actually, my first job in Springfield, Massachusetts, I started September of 1990 on a Saturday, and they said the next day, we want you to go to Foxborough and cover the Patriots season opener. Mike, all right, I'm good. Yeah. Of course, I was the number 3 guy, so I was part-time, maybe $12,000 a year. Yeah. But you know what? Entry level, and that's fine. Whatever, no worries. Got to do it. But during my time covering the Patriots, this is in the early '90s when they were not what they were awful. They were awful before the big run. So I would get to go out there. But one of them, as a 49ers fan, got to talk to Joe Montana and Jerry Rice when they came out there. So that was one of the real crazy moments for me where I was not really sure if I needed to go in the 49ers locker room, but I'm like, you know what? They're here, and I'm doing this, so I'm just going to wing it.
Yeah.
Rod Rust, the Patriots coach, during a portion of the time, they won one game. They won 1-15 one season, and their one win came at Indianapolis. Sorry, Pat. It came long before him.
Well, we know he's not watching.
Yeah,
don't worry.
But then, so literally every game in Foxborough was a loss. And the coach was drifting around the locker room after one of the games. And I said, Coach, any chance I could just get you for a quick one? Figured maybe try to get a one-on-one or whatever.
Yeah.
So I started talking to him, and then other media starts piling in. And then he just takes off, just like, why are you asking me all this? And just starts yelling at me left and right. And I'm like, well, I certainly wasn't being disrespectful because that's not going to be my mode.
Yeah.
But he just didn't want to hear anything. I'm thinking, well, like, why did you even agree to do this?
Exactly.
I'm not sure how I transpired to the Rod Rust thing, but from the Patriots, memories are coming back. But but just, you run into all kinds of things. On the flip side, Gene Cady, and I'm not this wasn't necessarily a bucket list situation. But Springfield, home of the Basketball Hall of Fame. So they had the Hall of Fame game. So Purdue was there for the Hall of Fame Classic.
Okay.
And for whatever reason, we get over there late to the press conference. So the press conference had ended. And Purdue's out on the floor running their practice. As I look back at this, I'm absolutely horrified what I did. So they're out there on the floor doing their practice. And I yell out, Coach, could you come over can I talk to you for a couple of minutes?
During practice?
During practice. Yeah, no, I was.
No, Jay.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm just looking back at this and I'm like, did I really do this? And then he comes over a couple minutes later and he's like, I've got to tell you, your time was a half hour ago in that room, in the media room. That's your time.
Yeah.
This is my time with my team, with my players on the floor. This isn't your time. But since you asked nicely, I'll do the interview.
Wow.
What do you want to talk about? And I will forever.
You never know, though, right? Because you saw that going one way.
Oh, yeah. I will never. I will always have good thoughts when I think of Gene Cady because he justifiably dressed me down and as well he should. But then he came through for me.
People and coaches are so good to us in the area now. But and I get it. Like a lot of them are like, hey, before or after practice, some of them make time for you when you get there. But that was the thing with Vic Boblet, the nicest human being in the world. But you had to be there ahead of time or after practice because that was his time. Coach Larry Johnson was the same way in Geneseo, but he would ask very nicely to be there beforehand or come after you totally have to respect that. Remember when VJ Singh was here in the Quad Cities?
That was the Monday finish after the rainy weekend.
Absolutely.
With about 70 people on that Monday at 12:30.
Yeah.
The Monday finish.
Well, he came back a few years later, so it wasn't the championship year, but Dale Ryman was one of the sports guys, and it was a hot, steamy, whatever day, in July or whatever, and the cameras back then, heck, even now, but it overheated. And you'd have to open up the camera and let the air come through and everything like that. Well, he comes out, and this was your only chance to get VJ Singh, comes around the trailer, and we have nothing. And I'm trying to get it to work, and it doesn't work. And he walks off right when I get it working. And he's like, all right, thanks, guys. And he walks around the trailer. And Dale and I look at each other like we are going to be in huge trouble. And I just said, give me the microphone and camera. And he goes up around the clubhouse and I catch him right by the deer tractor. And I'm like, VJ. And I'm breathing heavy because I'm out of shape as always. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. My camera wasn't working. Is there any way? And I think he's just going to blow me off or be mad. And he stops. He goes, yo, that's fine. Take a deep breath. Take your time. Yep. And I was just blown away. I was like, awesome. And I came back to the trailer. I'm like, look, I got a one-on-one with VJ. So sometimes you never know. I mean, and that's the cool part about the business is you find good people. In today's world, everybody looks at the negative about people, negative about kids. And I think that's been refreshing for myself. And I know you see it too, is, as everybody says, oh, this generation or that generation, we go out and we see the opposite. We get to, it's gratifying to reassuring, I guess, to see young people in their element being great kids, because that's what we get to see a ton of, which is a lot of fun. We're going to hit a quick break. We're going to come back. I want to talk to you about your sports likes professionally and all that.
One quick one.
Yeah.
Lawrence Taylor. I made the mistake of asking him for an interview at a Giants preseason game. He didn't talk to the media at that time. He did not talk to me at that time. He said, so it doesn't always turn out rosy.
Tom and I talked in the first hour. Have you been yelled at by Fran?
You know what? I have not been yelled at. No, I don't think I have.
I've been scolded by Fran.
Okay.
There was the
But
Iowa.
he certainly has had his moments.
Yeah, the Iowa, and he's one of, honestly, he was that guy. I always will say this when I feel like I'm criticizing Fran. He did an interview at a iClub event, and it was right after my dad had passed away. And he had found out about that. And after the interview, he sat there with me for a half hour talking to me about all that kind of stuff. So he's a good human being, but it was after the Iowa State game, and it got chippy towards the end. His son Connor was playing, I remember, at the end, and things got chippy, and Iowa didn't shake hands. It was one of the several times that he's that's the first question in the press conference. And so he gets in there, and I said, hey, Frank, can you take me? And he shouts me down like I'm a little kid. He's like, no, we're not doing that. That was the right decision. I should have just shut up. And I said, I'm not saying it wasn't, but can you take me through that? And he just shouted me down and moved on. And so it happens. Sometimes you get put in your place a little bit, but the majority, and Fran's a great person too, but the
But
majority
that
of the time
half-hour conversation, that's a great story, and that's I did not know that. That's impressive.
Awesome human being. Human being. So we're going to hit a quick break, and we will be right back with the one and only Jay Kidwell. You're watching Off the Air.
Hello, Dan Pearson here of FCA. Our team is thrilled to support Off the Air with our good friend Matt Randazzo. We share the view of the power of sport when it comes to relationships, including the influence of the coach. FCA believes the coach is the most influential person in America. Matt celebrates local coaches and athletes. His content is informational, insightful, and inspirational. Our Fellowship of Christian Athlete team loves partnering with Off the Air with Matt Randazzo while we engage, equip, and empower coaches and athletes in our 23 counties. FCA, the heart and soul in sports.
View from the West, the podcast covering Illinois high school football.
It's going to be a hard-hitting game. It's going to be great football.
Weekly analysis and reaction from around the western side of the state of Illinois.
This is the game we had circled when the year started.
Follow along on YouTube and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
It's big-time football out there tonight, and I know we can play big-time football.
View from the West. We got you covered.
Are you looking for the Quad City's best chips and salsa? There's only one dude to turn to.
Right on.
Snoop. Hand-cut chips, fried fresh with that crunch you've come to love. And the most addicting salsa with delicious fresh ingredients each and every time. Pick up your chips and salsa, queso, enchiladas, and much more at the Stern Center in Rock Island. To place your order, simply call the man himself. It's Snoop at 309-314-8197 and find out for yourself what the rest of the Quad Cities already loves. Welcome back to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. Day 2 here in the Randazzo estate. Thank you so much for watching as we continue to build something hopefully fun, fresh, and new in the Quad Cities and keep this thing going. We want to thank so far Tom Kakert's been in the house. We've talked with Chasson Randle, and we are finishing things up by talking with the one and only. And this has been really fun, Jay, because as I mentioned, and this was, we do guest grillers or did guest grillers at WQAD, and I got to do something with Dan Pearson, and I had never been on television or done any TV, or not that this is TV, but so to have you in here is fantastic. What are the things in this area?
Do I have to burn something down? It sounded like that Julian fire was really the high mark.
Honestly,
do I need to start a fire in the house?
He was week 2 of when we did guest grillers, and he lit the thing on fire, and that's all people talked about. And so, like, yeah, I mean, if you would mind, I don't know if my wife would love that, but I got to figure out, Julian, I know, is listening. He texted me earlier, so he's here tomorrow. Hopefully he can come up with something good to get us some publicity without burning my house down.
You guys do a nice job with that that grill and just the whole format. You guys have a lot of fun with that.
Well, the fun thing about that is, and we've always told people, was that was a result of the pandemic.
Right, okay.
We had the Iowa side was doing football, but the Illinois side wasn't. But we had sponsors to do a show, but we couldn't go into the station. And my big thing in Cuff, I think it was Cuff's ultimate idea, but we sat down because our biggest thing, and this isn't being mean to management or anything, this is just a life thing, keep your own fate in your own hands. So we could sit there and complain and whine and then like have them come up with a dumb idea and then us not like it and complain and whine, or we could sit down and figure out the best way to make the best out of a bad situation. And like Cuff's like, why don't we just go outside and it worked out great. And it got us so we didn't have to wear the shirt and ties, and we got to eat and all those kind of good things. So it turned out to be a ton of fun. We were kind of talking about what I miss, what I don't miss, what I have missed. And there's going to be certain things that I will miss about it. What's your favorite time when it comes to your sports calendar? Because it's always busy.
Yeah.
What's your favorite time of year when it comes to getting to do what you get to do?
Editing at Portillo's with Matt Randazzo.
Do you remember that?
Absolutely, multiple times. I mean, that was the Saturdays in November, playoff football time.
Yeah.
And again, the Fridays are a blast, but Friday's sort of just like survival. Like I'm trying to get to 2 or maybe 3, probably 2, namely with the Fox show. My 9 o'clock deadline's a little tighter. So it's just sort of survive in advance. On a Saturday, if we're driving 2 hours to a game, I can go watch an entire game. We can get some interviews, and go and then invariably we find a Portillo's and we go edit there.
Do you remember the one after the Geneseo game where we had the whole back room to ourselves because we came in with all our gear, and I think Tyler was there too, and we're like, is there a place that we can? And that's what people don't get. Like, I mean, we're working competing stations, but we're sitting there editing the stuff and hanging out and doing all those kind of things. I remember, and I'll tell people my favorite day was the Carson Frake shot for Rock Ridge.
Sure.
So we started in, and I'm going to sound like a hero, but this just all happened out, and it wasn't. Scott Weiss and I were in Indianapolis for the Big Ten tournament, and I kind of kept hearing, like, where are we going to get to this game? Who's going to get to that game? And I started hearing we might not be able to get to the Rock Ridge game. And so, and no offense to Illinois, but at the time they weren't a great team, and they lost to Purdue quickly. And it was a noon game, and I'm like, if we get out of there in time, I could probably make it to Peoria in time to do that game. So we shot our ins and outs, we shot our look lives at halftime because it was a 20-point game. So we just found like a little backdrop and back. And once that game got done, we hit some interviews. We went back to the hotel. Wheezy packed stuff up, and we headed our way towards Peoria. And we got to Peoria just in time for the game to start. And then what happened was the 3/4 quarter shot. And I remember because Matt Troha is the gray guy with the IHSA, and you're supposed to have the dead period where they're not supposed to talk, and we could go live. And I said to Matt, can I grab Toby live? And he's like, Matt, you know the rules. And I said, Toby, I started my day in Indy, and I'm the only people here. Like, nobody else is here. And he goes, yeah, go ahead and do it. So we ended our night so it started in Indy and ended in Peoria with the craziest shot in the world. And those are the days you don't expect them. And I think that's the big thing about our business is there's the days that like, oh, I'm going to cover this today, or it's Sunday of the John Deere Classic, and you expect the big days. I always found that like the biggest days are the ones that were unexpected. Those kind of things that you don't expect to happen kind of happen. And those are the cool parts about it.
That is the beauty of sports, is that, it's not always going to be the Disney finish or what have you. Yeah. It's not necessarily always a happy ending, but the happy endings are the best. And just the excitement you get with that, the adrenaline rush. And I mean, that had to be just an incredible, you get the magical moment for the Rock Ridge Rockets. Just incredible stuff. No, it's just great stuff. But, the beauty of the sports is when maybe you're sort of getting tired of one sport, the season ends and the next season begins. It is. And it just sort of goes. But as you know, pretty much from August, when football, begins with the camps and all of that, it's pretty much nonstop until early March, mid-March with basketball. Then we sort of get a little breather with some of the spring things for a hair, and then
that picks up.
It's ramped up pretty quickly in
April.
April.
What I'll tell people is, then people always think like, is it football? Is it basketball that's your busiest? For me, it was always the spring because everything happens at once. It's like you have the state soccer for the boys and girls in Iowa. You have track in Iowa. You have track in Illinois. You have some soccer in Illinois. You have the softball and the baseball in Illinois. That's all going on in like a 3-4 week period. Yeah. And it gets, I think, busiest wise is that. You've got to do the John Deere Classic. I arguably think it's the best sports tradition in the Quad Cities, especially during the summer. Your thoughts on the John Deere Classic and what makes it special that week for you?
Boy, how lucky are we to have a PGA Tour event in the Quad Cities? I mean, that is just off the charts.
Yeah.
It is outstanding. It's always the most unique, special week of the year to have the PGA Tour roll into town. It is fantastic. It's such an operation just to sort of see everything unfold from the early week and Pro-Am Day and all the various things that they'll do with that, Caitlin Clark and the various things that they've done over the years.
Do you have a year? I don't want to put you on the spot. I got a few and I can help you with them too.
Well, I mean, the Stricker runs were pretty crazy.
With Stricker,
With Stricker.
So that was 09, 10, and 11, I think, are the 3 years.
And, of course, Zach, when Zach's winning, I mean, it's just, here he is. I mean, everyone comes out to see Zach, and then he delivers. And whether he wins or doesn't, I mean, people are still excited to see him. So there's some just
I remember
the playoffs that we've had.
Yeah, so 13 was the year that, it was the 3-person playoff with Zach, a young Jordan Spieth who had just put one off the flag sticking in, and David Hearn. And I remember seeing Claire Peterson, was on 18 as they were getting ready to start. We knew it was going to be a playoff. And I looked at Claire and I said, I can tell you who you're not rooting for. And he goes, absolutely. And David Hearn, so that thing went, I want to say 5 playoff holes. And there was one point where Hearn had the chance to win. It was like a 7-footer on 17. And like, Andy McKay's one of the best photographers you'll find. He had a shot of Zach and Spieth with their hats off, just kind of talking, holding hands, or like not holding hands, but with their arms folded, because if they were holding hands at him in a much different, and they like look at each other when he missed and kind of like shrugged, and they move on. So, and that was Spieth's first year. They went Stricker, Johnson, Spieth. I'm going to mess up the middle year because Spieth didn't come back because of the Olympics, and then Spieth again in 2015. Yeah, like talk about a heck of a run. And you go 2015, that was Bill Murray in the Pro-Am.
Bill Murray.
And Jordan Spieth was in the middle of going for a Grand Slam. He had already won 2, and he was going to the British. I can't fathom. I thought that was always the best year was 2015. A few years ago with Caitlin Clark here, it equally matched it when you have Caitlin Clark, and then what Andrew Lehman has done with the and he'll be in on Friday. Maybe he'll announce the concerts on Friday. Maybe if Andrew's listening, he can announce the concerts on Friday with me. But the concerts, I think, is a great concept too.
Boy, they just continue to hit home runs. The date before the British Open, the Jet way back when, just embracing it and how can we make this work for us? And they keep doing it. Caitlin Clark, and I mean, that was just incredible. Bill Murray, I mean, the people that they've been bringing out, I think that's been a great addition. The concerts have been just a huge success. I mean, those last couple of Sundays, or Saturday and Sundays, I'm out there doing my live shots up there on the hill, and I literally can barely find a place to stand because it's just absolutely overloaded with people. And whether they're all there, I'm sure a lot of them are there for the concert, but they're getting a flavor of the golf, and maybe that will get them involved.
1,000. I thought cool this year was the 4th of July was on a Thursday. And so to make sure you still 4th of July may be something that you're going to battle with when it comes to getting people out for round 1. And they did a great promotion with Joe Moreno and the Firecracker, that if you ran in the Firecracker, you can come out and just get a day of golf and watch the golf. So,
and that Firecracker,
thinking outside the line is awesome.
Firecracker Run, probably one of the great events here that might be on the lower radar.
Yeah, people undervalued.
Undervalued. I mean, that is such a spectacular event. It's just such a joyful 4th of July, all the flags, all the patriotism, the hospital bed races, just all the various things that they got going out there. That is I mean, the Bix is the Bix. I mean, but the Firecracker Run, and I'm also somewhat partial there because 99% of the time you get a regional local winner, which is sort of fun too.
I love the Quad City Marathon, and that's kind of one of the reasons too. I mean, the Bix is the Bix, and I think people run the Bix for it's more about partaking in the Bix than anything else. I think who won the Bix last year? Who won the Bix 3 years ago? I can't tell you. I can't tell you, and that's not being mean, but it's hey, but I can tell if you ran the Bix, you could tell me your time.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like it's more about like that and it's an awesome to see that mob of people go up Brady Street. Totally get it. Been part of it. Not a lot. Did it twice. Probably won't ever do it again. I loved it, but as the years go older, man, it's getting harder to get out there. But
an incredible community event. I mean, the Quad Cities should be just an incredible community event. And bravo. I don't care what place you finish. If you do it, bravo.
Yeah. Take me through your Caitlin Clark experience. Did you ever imagine? We talked to on the show yesterday. I never thought that I would sit there and lead with Iowa women's basketball, and I don't mean that in a sexist way at all. And it was and it happened so quickly. When all said and done, one of the things I'm going to tell my grandkids about is that I cover Caitlin Clark. And it was must see, must cover, and I'm assuming that was kind of the same way. You snuck your way up to Iowa City several times, I know.
Yeah, no, it's incredible. I mean, believe it or not, I was not around for Babe Ruth, but I think we have like the Babe Ruth of this generation. I mean, it is incredible what has happened with her and her talent, popularity. It's wild. I'll always remember one of the stories that I'll think of with her is I went home, go home after the 6 o'clock show. And my wife said, did you see the story that we ran on Caitlin Clark? She's like bringing up bullet points out of the story about Caitlin. I'm like, all the times I've been doing sports, I've never gotten home and she's referenced anything I've done on TV.
No, I know.
And now she's here like paying attention and listening to the Caitlin Clark coverage. Just incredible. And she just continues to impress how she handles everything that she's been run into.
Yeah. No, that's, I think the thing about her is that she handles everything like a pro. And obviously she's a pro now, but with everything she had gone through in the college, sometimes young people aren't prepared for that. I mean, we've all had a bad interview. We know, like, and she seemed so mature beyond her years when it came to that kind of stuff. That was awesome. I'll tell people that, like, up until, it wasn't, so she broke the first record against Michigan, and then she broke the other one against Ohio State. Up until Ohio State, I had never covered one of her games. And I'm sitting here because we had Celia doing fantastic stuff, and that was her beat. And then Camille was up there doing that kind of thing. So I had interviewed, I'd gone to press conferences and that kind of stuff, but I had never been to a Caitlin Clark game. So I kind of big timed. I can't remember who was it Camille? No, maybe Jenna. I think Camille. Anyways, I big timed whoever, which I feel bad for. And I said, I'm going to this game because I can't sit here at the end of it and say like one of the greatest sports athletes of all time was in our area and I didn't go to it. And so, I went to that game and then I kept going.
Sure.
And that's why people are still going, is because once I went and you know what it's like. We technically get weekends off as the sports director, and we work a lot of them. So on a Sunday, like going up to Iowa City when you have 4 kids is tougher to do. I always tell people, like when I first got married, I went to like all the Iowa games. Heck, before I got married, I went to every Iowa game. And then it just slowly, and then you have, okay, can I go to Iowa City or do I go to one of the 4 events that I got for my kids that day? I probably should be a good dad and stick and stay. So that's some of the beauty parts of it at all. What you get to do, how long you want to do it? I'm not asking for a retirement or all that kind of stuff, but it's what I guess what my question is, it's still, and it was for me too. It's still a ton of fun.
Sure. No, it is. Absolutely. Enjoy it. As I said, right now, things are going pretty good. Station has been supportive.
Yeah.
They're good with us with sports. They're good with, the resources that we do have, at least letting us tap into what we can do. Hit the big 6-0 in September. So,
do you really?
So, I haven't really thought, half the time when I've got a week off, unless we're on vacation or doing something, I go stir crazy on a long weekend.
If
so
that's
I think
the case, next time you have the week off, that chair is wide open.
Oh, well, there
you
we
can
go.
come co-host the show with me whenever you want.
Well, you know what? Before we wrap up, I cannot emphasize how impressed I am with you.
I appreciate it.
Taking this adventure. I remember the first time we talked about it, and some apprehension, and as there should be.
Yeah.
This is a huge life change.
Yeah.
But boy, you are gonna just absolutely take charge on this.
Talk to me in 2 months when I'm looking for a job at Channel 4.
No. You know what? 6 months from. Look at this opening week for you.
Yeah,
You're doing a great job.
It's been fun. It's exciting. And it's been fun to get back to work.
It takes courage. I mentioned this to a lot of our people at the station, naming a lot of these reporters that are young reporters that come in from wherever. It takes courage to leave home. Not that you're leaving home, but to do something.
It's getting literally
out of the comfort zone.
I'm not leaving home. I don't ever have to leave home. I just showed you my basement. I don't want to ever leave my house again. I might just become a hermit. But yeah, it's getting out of the comfort zone and doing different things. I mentioned on the show yesterday, but I try to tell my boys, when you are in your comfort zone, you're probably not doing the best that you can do. No. And to get out of your, I remember the first newscast I ever did. It was a sportscast. It was a Saturday. It was Brad Banks's Heisman Trophy. And I drove to the station like I couldn't do this. Like I was so nervous, and I pushed through the uncomfort of what I did, of doing it, and then I got to do it for 25 years almost. It wasn't quite 25, but it felt like 50 for some people probably. But and so that's the thing, is just try something different. Yeah, this is exciting because I thought when I did a podcast, I told you when you got here, I thought I'd be in a computer with a single shot and doing this stuff, to be able to flip cameras around and do different things. I've got some great friends, Dane Miller, Ian Jacobs have come over and helped me do all of this, and it's going It's going okay so far, but the beauty part is I'm still doing what I love to do, and I'm going to be out at like the shootout this weekend. I'll probably be by and doing that. I do some MediaCom stuff, still credentialed at Iowa and Illinois, so I get to kind of pick and choose the things I want to do and take care of for boys. But I wanted to reach out to you because I miss seeing you a ton. I didn't get to see you in a long time, so I figured what a better way to get you back out here to do this kind of stuff.
You know what I could look at you right now and see is I remember JB Long. You probably remember JB. Was a weekend guy with me years ago. JB Long, I'll always remember, like at the end of the 10 o'clock news, the day is done. JB would take, this is when we had the beta tapes.
Yeah.
He'd go into the edit room, cue up the Iowa basketball game, and he would sit there and do play-by-play of the Iowa basketball game in the edit room. He would just sit there and do that and I'd go home and he'd be in there doing that, and I'm like, JB, go get him, keep going. And now, as you mentioned, he's the radio voice for the Los Angeles Rams.
He called the Super Bowl.
He went to the Big Ten Network. He went to Tulsa. He did a couple of other stops. Tulsa, I believe, in Tampa, and then Big Ten. He was doing some games, freelance for Big Ten, Pac-12, and now the radio voice of the Rams. The irony is we're both 49ers fans. He grew up in the Bay Area, so he grew up as a 49ers fan.
Sure.
So now here's radio voice for the rival, the Rams. Wow. You know what? If the Rams called me, I'd jump in the radio booth too.
Oh, absolutely.
And so to see him sort of like the ground floor, and this is sort of the beginning of your new adventure. And boy, to see where you're going to take off, it's going to be fun to watch your. We're always going to be rooting for you and clapping for you.
I appreciate it, and that's the thing I always wanted to do with sports radio. I went to Ambrose, and Dan Birch was on KJOC, and I always wanted to do sports radio. So this is kind of my way of doing that. And speaking of which, I think is going to be fun. And I don't even know if he's watching this in Carolina, but I'm going to bug him here in the next couple of days. I'm going to start doing Wild Man Wednesdays. If he'll do it, which I think I know Dan, I think he'll do it, and maybe just do maybe record like a 15-minute thing with him. I know he's busy, has a job and all that kind of stuff, and do those kind of things. That's the fun thing for me, is just to have a longer dialogue conversation and not have. I'm looking at the clock, and technically I'm done in a minute, but I can go for 4 hours if I want to. I don't have to keep to be quiet or anything like that. So that's the fun of it.
You don't have weather lurking in the wings.
See, I got to be careful because I've made the weather jokes, but I don't want anyone think because Andy
it's
McRae's great too.
Yeah.
And so I always made fun of James and gave him a hard time, but he's so awesome that I don't want him to think that he was this ego guy that wanted the time. People just care a lot about weather.
Sure. Yeah.
15 times a newscast they need to find out about the weather, Jay.
We're all on the same page.
Yeah, don't you dare cut last look. Yeah. We need to say it for the 7th time.
And the best is when the best is when the anchors look over. So what can we expect tomorrow? I'm thinking, didn't we just do this twice in the last 20 minutes?
Hey, Daz, can you cut a couple things? We got to do last look. Do we? I can tell you. How about I just tell you at the end of the show it's going to be sunny tomorrow?
And 20.
Yes, exactly.
Cold and sunny.
Jay, this has been a ton of fun. I'm going to make you come out and do this again. So,
I would be happy to. And again, I cannot tell you how impressed. I'm honored to be on your show, and all the best. Go get them. You're doing it.
I appreciate it. Here's the goofy part of what I have to do is I don't know exactly how to get out of doing this kind of stuff. So I want to, I found it. So I think I have a graphic to say goodbye. So Jay Kidwell, we want to thank him for being here. I want to thank Tom Kakert. Chasson Randle is always great. Please tell your friends, subscribe, enjoy it. Subscribe. I got yelled at from Pat Anger yesterday. I kept saying subscribe. Subscribe if you could do that. We'd appreciate it. On tomorrow's show, we have Jess Settles. We will have Julian Veldenvelde and much, much more later in the week. Brock Harding, Andrew Lehman, Greg Armstrong. The list continues to grow as long as people continue to return my phone calls. And that's a beautiful thing. So first and foremost, we want to thank you guys for watching as well. We will see you guys tomorrow.